And I am asking women as well that are calling in, and I forgot to ask her this question, which is it okay for me to question Nancy Mace? She claims she was raped when she was 16 years old. She questions E. Jean Carroll. She's called E. Jean Carroll a liar. All the other women that have accused Donald Trump of, she doesn't believe these women. She supports Donald Trump, right? Shouldn't we question her? Where's the police report? Did you file a defamation case, or I shouldn't say defamation, but did you try to file a lawsuit against him? Where's the evidence that? I don't know if I believe you, Nancy Mace. In fact, the guy that your accuser, maybe he should run for office. You support Donald Trump. You think I'm crazy? Maybe we should support the guy who you claim you, because that's what you're doing.
This lady here, Miss Mace, who supposedly was.
Yeah.
I would question that. I would question her on that.
So you think it's fair for me to do that then?
Yes, I do, because I'm a survivor myself twice.
I'm so sorry.
Okay? And no one that has really been there upholds anybody that has done that or goes after other women that has happened to.
I want to ask you. I want to ask you about this. And by the way, I am so sorry that happened to you. So you understand my perspective, right? My perspective is you have a woman in Nancy Mace. I think she's a woman, Nancy Mace, who claims that she was okay, horrible. But here's my problem. She shames E. Jean Carroll. This wasn't just a claim. He was found liable for sexual abuse in a court of law. The judge characterized it as. Yeah. And there's 25 other women, actually, I think it's more than that have accused Donald Trump of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife in a deposition. But yet Nancy Mace claims she doesn't believe any of these women. She supports this guy. So I think it's time that we start questioning Nancy Mace. Hey, she wanted the attention, right? She wanted to be this hero. What a hero for not allowing a transgender woman in a bathroom. She could care less about all these school shootings across the country. She could care less that Donald Trump is helping to end the woman's right to choose. She could care less about any of that stuff as long as she sells her shirts and makes money. And then she wants to claim that she's a victim. Well, who is this man? Maybe he should run for office. I want to know who this guy is. Who is the man who she is claiming raped her? Where's the police report? Show me documentation. Otherwise, I think she's a liar. And I have no problem in saying that on the air. And if she thinks I'm shaming her, you're damn right I am, Nancy Mace. You want to call me George Stephanopoulos? Oh, I'll be worse. I think you're a liar. And I think you've done all of this stuff to get attention. You could care less about the safety of women in this country. You could care less. You would not have supported Donald Trump. If you care about those who are victims of sexual assault, then why would you support one? So I think she is a liar. I think she's mentally ill. I think she's consumed. She loves doing these interviews and saying, oh, well, you're shaming me. No, we're questioning you because you have no credibility.
She should show her credit, show the proof. The proof is in the pudding, and she has not showed anything.
No.
So she is lying.
I think she's a liar. I'd like to know evidence. Yeah, I'd like to know I'd like to see the evidence. I mean, yeah, every interview, by the way, is that normal? Literally every interview she's done, every one in the last month, she talks about how she's victim. Okay, I understand if it's true, it's something you never get over. It's horrible. Why does she bring it up in every interview when talking about trans issues? Why does she
constantly? She didn't get.
You might be right on that one. You might be right about that, and I think we need to start questioning Nancy Mace. I appreciate you for calling in. Tell your daughters to be quiet when you're listening to the show. It's very important.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Yes.
I'm getting educated.
Tell them
I'm going to school when I come on listen to you.
Tell your daughters they need to obey their mother. Okay, you got to. Okay. Thank you so much for calling in, Octavia. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, dear.
Hey, just wanted to comment on your issue with Nancy, and
yes.
I totally agree. I was when I was 13 years old,
I'm so
and
sorry.
anybody who has ever been through that would never in their life support somebody going around doing that to anybody else.
You're so right, and I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm so sorry.
Literally.
What goes through your mind when, after the hell that I'm sure you had to go through, I can't even imagine, when you see this woman on television as a survivor of sexual abuse yourself, do you think she's being genuine at all when she talks about people like you?
No, she's not. She absolutely is not.
And explain why you say that.
Every time every time I look at Donald Trump, I see that person that did that to me. Every single time. He brags about grabbing women by their genitals. Every single time he talked about walking in and seeing those young girls for those pageants and seeing them naked. And he's not ashamed of any of that. And he brags about it. Right. And then she sits there and she says, oh, well, I was one of those people. No, she wasn't.
So you think you think she's probably making it up?
Oh, I think she's lying 100%.
That is a good question.
100%.
I'm starting to agree with you, by the way. I'm starting to feel that way myself. I started to feel that today. I mean, do you think there are actual women out there? I would imagine there must be, right? That are victims of that voted for Donald Trump. What would you say to them?
I can't even fathom. I mean, it literally makes me sick. That is one of the most vile things you could do to another human being. Agreed. And the fact that anybody could support, especially when there's proof that he did it.
That's what gets me so disappointed in this country, what you just said.
Yes.
What our conversation doesn't necessarily have anything to do with policy. I'm sure we both have our disagreements with Donald Trump and policy, but this conversation doesn't have anything to do with policy. And these are the types of conversations I have with the Republicans. I say, listen, I'm not interested right now in getting into a policy discussion with you. Those are fair conversations to have. We're just talking about human decency, a moral compass, and I don't want a liable sexual abuser being the leader of the free world. Why is it so hard for people in this country to understand that?
I wish I knew. I'm from Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. I'm in a very red area, and I am about one of the only blue people, and it literally makes me sick.
It makes me sick too.
People disregard just human decency.
We've lost that, haven't we? We've lost that with our leaders.
Definitely.
We certainly had that with Joe Biden. I think he's a decent man. We certainly had that with Barack Obama. And listen, I was not a George W. Bush fan. I thought he was a horrific president. The war in Iraq, our economy going down the tubes. But I will say this about, and I don't think he has any backbone. If he did, he would have come forward and he would have supported Harris. But George W. Bush, his wife has some class. They're able to sit with the Obamas during the McCain funeral. They get along. They have respect for the position. At least they have some decency, right? You could be a bad president policy-wise, but it doesn't mean you have to be a liable sexual abuser or someone that attacks women on looks or you name it, right? That's who Donald Trump is. Well, listen, I share your grievances. I'm very sorry what took place with you when you were younger. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. I feel for you. And just know that I am with you. I am with all of you. And when I see Nancy Mace speak, she doesn't represent you people. She doesn't represent victims of sexual assault. She doesn't represent women. Nancy Mace only represents herself. And trust me, I know that. I will always stand up for people like you.
About Nancy Mace, I don't think she was. She is, she's a terrible person. She was on The View last year.
Yeah, I remember.
And I don't think anybody liked her on there except Alyssa, who is a Republican.
Yeah, Alyssa Abraham. Yeah. Well, I don't think she's genuine, and I hate. Listen, when I hear somebody is the victim of a heinous crime, allegedly, I always tend to believe the victim first until somebody gives me evidence. Otherwise, there's something really weird going on with Nancy Mace, and there's something wrong with her. I was on another podcast last week talking about this. I think she's mentally ill. I think she needs help. Do I know whether she was sexually abused or not? No, I do not. But here's what I do know. She supports a liable sexual abuser who has over 25 women that have accused Donald Trump of sexual abuse. That doesn't sound like to me somebody who was sexually abused themselves. That's all I'm saying. I think we need to start questioning her. If she wants to question E. Jean Carroll, which she has, she doesn't believe E. Jean Carroll, doesn't believe E. Jean Carroll was credible, then why should we believe her? E. Jean Carroll, in that case, there was more evidence presented in that case than anything Nancy Mace has ever said. She hasn't shown anything. All we've heard from Nancy Mace in every interview over the course of the last few months is that she was the victim of a sexual when she was 16? Who did you tell? Is there police documentation? Was there a police report? Did you file suit against this man? Do you even know who he is? So, I mean, I think these are questions that I think, and every single time Nancy Mace does an interview and she wants to attack the trans community, I think every single journalist should question her. Where's your evidence that you were raped when you were 16? Have her keep talking about transgender bathrooms, and every time I'm going to keep talking about questioning her and her credibility when it comes to her allegedly being abused when she was 16. That's all.
You know what I think? I think you should call her and have her on the show.
She'd never do my show. I'll ask, but I don't think she'll ever do the show. Let me tell you something, man. I think she would rather have Caitlyn Jenner in her bathroom right next to her than doing my show. I really think that's how much she really would refuse to do my show, but I could be wrong on that. I don't know.
Never say never.
Never say never. There are some crazy, wacky right-wingers that have done my show. So you're right. I mean, Larry Elder did my show. I had Leo Terrell 2.0 who did my show. I've had some pretty prominent right-wingers do my show, so I guess you never know. But Maureen, thank you for the call. I appreciate you.
Going back to the Nancy Mace situation, my daughter was 8 years old when she was molested.
Oh, boy. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's heartbreaking.
We went to court and set precedents in the state of South Carolina with her case.
Yeah.
And this was back in 94.
Mm-hmm.
And to have someone like Nancy Mace using something that is so personal, traumatic, is wrong. Because every time she throws that up, she peels the scab off of somebody's wound.
So I agree with you. I want to ask you a question, and I'm sorry. You said this happened. Was it your daughter or your granddaughter?
My daughter.
How is she doing, by the way?
Unfortunately, she did become a statistic, regardless of all the counseling and therapies and everything. She did become one of the statistics of drug usage.
Oh, Mo, I'm so sorry.
I have raised two of her beautiful children, and I don't regret that for one moment because they're so awesome.
I can't even begin to tell you how sorry I am to hear this and the hell that you've had to go through and your daughter had to go through. The person who committed this horrible crime years ago, was he convicted for any crimes committed?
He was convicted. He got sentenced to 12 years.
That's it?
He did not get out on early behavior.
That gets me very upset because your daughter sadly, lost her life. And I would imagine that the addictions that she had and the issues she had in her life probably correlated a lot to what took place when she was 8 years old. I'm not a therapist, but I would assume that to be the case. And we have issues in this country where if you molest an 8-year-old, in my opinion, you should get life in jail without the possibility of parole. If there's DNA evidence and there's, I don't think you should ever see the light of day again. If you rape a child, I can't think of something worse than that. But what you say resonates with me, and I just feel for you and your family. At the same time, Nancy Mace is somebody, I don't even want to say what I really want to say because it might offend some people, but Nancy Mace, it'd be great if she could have a conversation with somebody like you. Now, she would probably never do that because she's more interested in selling her T-shirts and making appearances on Fox News because she's a despicable human being. But the real victims are people like you and your family and your poor daughter who I would imagine had to go through hell. And all I can tell you is that we got to keep fighting the good fight. And I hope that SOB that did this to your daughter burns in hell one day and pays the price.
Oh, hey, that's where he's at now, finally. Thank God.
Well, you know what? You rape a child. You're not going to see me shedding a tear for that, SOB. I appreciate you calling in. I'm sorry, so sorry that it happened to your daughter. You please call back anytime. And
Can I make one more point?
Yes, absolutely, dear. Go right ahead.
her daughter, my granddaughter that I have raised,
Yes.
when she got up on November 6th, was so distraught. She's a senior in high school this year. And one of the things she said to me is, how on earth can all these people look people in the face that have been hurt and say that somebody like Donald Trump, he was found guilty. It may have been in a civil court, but it still is a court of law, and you have to have a preponderance of the evidence.
Right, right.
So,
well, your daughter sounds like
they're saying it's okay for that to happen.
Your granddaughter sounds like an extremely intelligent young lady, and I would love to speak with her one day and have her call into this show. Your granddaughter's very smart, and the best answer that I could give her is as follows. A lot of sick people in this country. There's a lot of people in this country that have no moral compass. And there's a lot of victims of sexual assault that are asking the same question that your granddaughter asks. It's a very difficult question to answer. But I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed where we're at. I think there's a lot of people in this country that are ill-informed, particularly when it comes to Donald Trump and his sexcapades and the way he's treated women his entire life. There's a lot of people that are not willing to admit to what he has done. We could be talking about the liable sexual abuse. We could be talking about the way he's cheated on women his entire life, or the 25-plus women that have accused him of rape or sexual assault. I still like to believe that most of the country understands who Donald Trump is. Most of the country knows who this evil, adjudicated rapist is. But there are some that are not willing to admit it. There are some that are ill-informed. There are some that are ignorant. There are some that are bigoted. And there are some that don't care. You take care, my dear, and I'm sorry for what you and your family have had to go through and your poor daughter had to experience. I'm so very sorry. And you always have a voice on this show, and I will always defend people like you and your daughter. May she rest in peace. Thank you for the call.